All right, my super ladies, we have Natasha with us today from North London. And not only is her voice beautiful to listen to, her story is as well. And she's going to share with us how fitness, physical training, going on a fitness journey can do more for your body than just your body. So tell us, Natasha, about your journey.
Yeah, it's a hell of a journey. Sometimes I can't even put it into words how shocked I am that I've got to this stage. I'll rewind time back to maybe 2015, 2016. And I had a brilliant promotion. I was a teacher for 10 years. And obviously, I would say that this was probably the peak of my success in that career. I was a head of English, which is obviously very big, well, weight on your shoulders sort of kind of job. You're responsible for the kids' GCSE results. So anyway, I had got this promotion and I just thought, wow, I've made it in this career. It's all I was born to do. It's all I, ever worked for, I suppose, since I ever left school. You could almost say that I never left school at all. I left school after GCSEs, did my A levels, went to university, and then becoming a teacher, you're straight back into working in schools. So I never realized how difficult the job would actually be. I just thought, I can do this. I was very confident. I knew my abilities and capabilities in that job. I did feel like it was my identity, I suppose. It was my only identity that I'd ever really recognized in myself, because I guess you could say that there was nothing else in my life that I took that much pride in and valued so much. So I became a head of English, and that entire year it did not go as I'd have wanted it to have gone. The stress of the job was just beyond the normal daily stress of any teacher. To put it into perspective, 12 to 13-hour days, going in to teach on a Saturday. I had 2 GCSE classes and there was loads of coursework at the time. And it was just, managing a 9-man department. And I was only 26 at the time as well. So you could say I was only at the time probably 4 or 5 years into the job itself. And my mental and physical health just took the hit that entire year. I started becoming very withdrawn, really low in myself, feeling like I was incapable. I was doing what I could, and people were telling me that I was doing a good job, but I just never felt that I was. Like, I never felt good enough. And it got to the point where the stress was so bad that I would honestly, like, after a 12, 13-hour day, get home, eat loads of food, but some days I would undereat. So I was in a constant cycle of overeating, undereating, overeating, undereating. So my eating was over the place. My sleep was really bad. I started developing sleep paralysis. I had to go to the doctor. They wanted to send me to a sleep specialist because the stress was so bad. My cortisol was so high. I would really struggle to get to sleep. And even if I did, I would wake up in the night thinking about work, dreaming about work. It almost became like an obsession. What had led me to do such an amazing job in a way led to my downfall, because my physical health was just taking a hit. My cycle was really bad. I would get really, really bad periods, which is, again, everything that I know now is associated with severe stress. Like, it can take your hit on your body. And it got to the point where I genuinely became so depressed. I stopped seeing friends. I would speak to my mum every day because she was genuinely worried about me. Everyone who was close to me at the time was genuinely worried because the spark in me had just disappeared. I became a different person, not for the better. I would become really flaky as a person. I never wanted to do anything fun or social. And I just, at the time, entered a relationship that was not good. And it was just everything piled on top of each other. And it was so bad that I experienced my first panic attacks. I never thought I would even know what that would feel like. A lot of my mum's side of my family has mental health problems, but I always thought, oh, that's never going to be me. And then it ended up becoming me. To have panic attacks literally driving into school. At once, it was really bad. The head teacher and the deputy head, and it was just incredibly embarrassing, had to physically get me out the car. And I said to them, I actually can't do this day. I genuinely can't. Like, I need to go home. And they said, well, look, we'll take you off timetable. Why don't you just stay with us in meetings all day? I genuinely couldn't face my life. It was so bad. It wasn't just something that lasted a month. This was something that lasted an entire year. Like, this was properly for a whole year. And I guess the icing on the cake really was I started taking sporadic days off work because I couldn't face anything, could not face the relationship that I was in. I could not face the workload. I didn't know who I was. I felt lost. And it was really hard because a lot of people, when they look at depression like that, would say, oh, just try and be happy and try and stay positive. But what people don't understand is when you're in that situation, you genuinely don't want to be in that situation, but you just don't know how to find a way out of it, like at all. So, yeah, it just got to the point where there was one particular day where I didn't go into work and my brother let himself in with a key, and he just told me like everything he felt. He was like, this is not good. You've been like this for such a significant amount of time. You're essentially just spiraling. And I was like, yeah, I know. I just don't know what to do. And then he made a suggestion, and he's still a personal trainer today. And he said, why don't you start taking up a hobby? Like, why don't I start training you once a week or twice a week at the gym? And my immediate response, Gillian, was the gym. I was like, how is that going to change how I feel? How is that going to change my situation? And he would openly call me negative. Exactly. And I just immediately tried to shut it down. I was like, well, I don't see how that's going to help. And he was like, well, fine. Okay. Well, if you want to, it would be good for it to, get you out the house instead of just work, home, work, home. A few months went by and the seed had been planted in my head. And the more and more unhappy I was going into this job, I just thought, what have I got to lose, really? I might as well just try. And it took about, I think it was probably 2 or 3 months since we had that initial conversation and nothing more was said. And I said to him, okay, I thought about what you said a few months ago. How about I do take you up on that offer? And when I reflect on it now, I'm like, I do not know how that one day completely transformed my life forever. Like, genuinely, that first day of stepping into the gym, I hated it. I remember that first session, but it was the ultimate stepping stone for how I started, well, how I became to be where I am now. So yeah, it was that one day, essentially.
I think that is something that is so important for people to kind of pause and take inventory of and accept that there can be that moment in their life that seems random and obscure, but can and often does change everything. And to have the ability to get out of our own way and allow that. I don't want to say life cycle, but allow that chapter happen, because when it does, it is beautiful. I love in your story, kind of as you shared about how you've been now able to share the impact of that with others, that if your brother hadn't have had that tough love, let's call it, because it's tough because you were a lion at that moment and he had to come and stick his head in your mouth and tell you this and know that you were going to clamp down most likely the first time. And then when you did kind of agree to even come along to the gym, you weren't going to be the most joyful gym buddy. But now to see you in such a happy, healthy place and to see you leading others, that is truly a mission of love. And you're now carrying the torch of that, for others. So on that journey,
Yeah.
what is the journey like for you now? What is an average day for you like in your fitness journey? And what is a day for you like in the fitness journey of the women that you help?
So now I feel genuinely the most happiest and healthiest that I've ever been in my life. And for me, it's that feeling that every day I wake up in the morning, even if it's at 10 to 5 in the morning, most mornings are 10 to 5 in the morning, because I have a lot of early morning clients. I genuinely am so grateful that I am able to do that, that I'm able to have this ability to not wake up with dread, depression, feeling like you're going somewhere where you absolutely despise. Like, I genuinely, and especially a lot of my clients are like, Tash, how do you get up so early in the morning? And I'm like, when you love your life, it's so easy to wake up in the morning. Unlike before, when I was deep in that depression and physically not wanting to get dressed some days, like genuinely for about a couple of days at a time, not really caring about your personal self. I think now it's just knowing that whenever I drive to work and have those early morning clients, I feel so grateful that I'm finally in a position where I'm doing what I love every single day. I am looking after my own mental and physical health every single day, as well as my clients. I'm able to have freedom. And that's the thing, because although it was scary to go from being a career driven, ambitious teacher, employed, safety net, it was a massive thing giving up a career that is all you've ever known. And I think that's what a lot of people fear, is when something is all you've ever known, whether that is a career, whether that is a relationship, whatever it is, it's very hard to imagine a life without it. So for a long time, it took that long period of time for me to get myself out of it. It was, if I hadn't have gone into the gym that day, I would never have competed in bodybuilding and fully embraced that new journey. If I hadn't have competed in bodybuilding, I never would have given up my teaching career, because doing a discipline, whatever that discipline is, it genuinely changes your mindset. So the fact that I started training, it changes your mindset for the better, because all you want to do every single day is be better. Everyone has stress in their life. I'm not going to lie to everyone on here and say, I don't have stress in my life. Of course, everyone has stress in their life. My mum's been very sick for the last 4 years with bladder cancer. Like, I've managed to deal with that. But what I'm saying is, when you take up a discipline like that, no matter how bad something is, whether it's a family member that's ill with cancer, whether it's a change in your circumstances, ending like my previous relationship, you are able to deal with life better, because it keeps you in line. It reminds you what's important, which is looking after my own physical, mental health, dealing with all these other issues that life throws in your way. And now it's just like, I still train 4 days a week. So in terms of like my own personal goals, I'll be competing in the British Nationals for powerlifting in July this year, which I qualified last year, which is obviously the opposite to bodybuilding, very performance based. But again, it's something else that has led me to not just, I'm not just training in the gym. I've actually done something else with it as well. Beyond bodybuilding, there's always another stepping stone. And I think for me, it's just trying to change the mindsets of these women, these amazing women that I work with. And honestly, if they're listening now, I just want to say I genuinely have the best clients in the world. They are women that have come to me with no confidence, not understanding anything about nutrition, feeling really low about themselves, which is possibly, after having a child where it's a change of circumstances. And when they work with me, they don't even realize it's happening, but I already know, because I've been there. I've been in their shoes, but I'm watching from the outside, and they'll come in and they'll say, "Oh, I felt happier today, and I felt more positive." I had a client this week alone say to me, "Tash, I felt like I managed to like go into work, and just as busy as it was and as stressful, it made me realize like I can do this." Like, it gives you a confidence that, unless you're pursuing something for a period of time that requires this change of mindset, you just learn how to deal with life better. And the positivity that I see from those clients now, from changing not just their physique, and boy, have they changed their physiques. Like, I'll just give you 2 examples. 2 of my biggest losers have dropped 25 kg and 22 kg naturally, without the injection, all because they understood how to eat to satiety without restriction as well. Obviously, the good thing is, because I myself have experienced like eating disorders, like binge eating disorder, I know the signs. People feel comfortable to talk to me about it, but also it is possible to diet and lose a significant amount of weight like that without developing eating disorders, without the restriction like a lot of fad diets do these days. And, I come from a place now where I can comment and say that I don't like a lot of people in fitness, because I've not always been in fitness. And there is this trend on Instagram that, you have to do crazy diets and low calorie diets. And it's like, women shouldn't be on low calorie diets. What's important is that you are fueling for your health. And that's fundamentally what should be the priority. Fat loss comes after, or comes hand in hand with that. So I guess for me, Gillian, is my day to day is loving that I am helping other people who have been in very similar situations to me. So it's almost like I'm helping myself over and over again through all these different personalities of clients. And yeah, I do love my life. There are there are stresses day to day, but would I change it for the world? No, never. I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't give it up. It's the freedom. The freedom that I have now is you can't replace that.
You don't feel like you're a prisoner in a place you didn't create. You feel like you're the queen
Exactly.
of the world. That's exactly the right fit for you. I know exactly what you're talking about. So you talk about your clients and kind of how you work with them. what is a kind of give folks an idea if they're listening and they're like, yeah, I really connect with her. I want to work with her. Well, what is that experience like for folks?
So if you're prepared to do things that are scary, do things you've never done before, trust in someone that's done it before, then you're the right client for me. Because it is scary to do things you've never done before. It is scary to face your problems because, a lot of people mask their daily problems through food. That's why a lot of women come to me who are very overweight because they're just very unhappy and the only time they seek comfort is in food. And it's being able to understand that it is possible to change by doing scary things and trusting in someone like me who's done it before. And just being able to, give things a go and, just getting over that fear, I suppose. But again, if you're someone that wants to work with me, you will 100% get to the place where you want to be. If you tell me, I want to lose 10 pounds, I will tell you rightly or wrongly whether it's realistic or not. When someone's like, I want to lose 10 stone, it's like, right, we're going to think about what's realistic in your lifestyle. And with me, it's not just a matter of, you can train with me online or in person, and that's all you see. I offer so much support that a lot of other personal trainers don't give. Like the education around macronutrients, around calories, around how to change your body composition that goes beyond calories, and how to weight train properly. And also, most importantly, how to maintain a positive relationship with food, because usually that's the first thing that people sacrifice when they are doing a fad diet, when they're doing a ridiculously low calorie diet. And that's the first thing that suffers. But I guess with me, it's understanding that when you understand your body and you understand what it needs, it's being able to just maintain that positive relationship with food. And my body transformations on my Instagram speak for themselves. Like, these women are incredible. I've trained women who have given birth to their kids 12 weeks before they started with me and dropped like 2-3 stone, who have just look in incredible shape, and I've helped women who had a lot of disordered eating like I did, or binge eating disorder, and they've like recovered. They've been able to actually recover through that. And I just think for me, it's being able to do a fat loss phase that's done properly in the most realistic way possible, but also maintaining a positive relationship with food. And that's fundamentally like what I do.
In just the amount of time I've spent with you this morning and just kind of hearing your story, I can tell that you have completely been there. You've been on the floor crying. You've been in what we call the pit, and you have gotten yourself out of it on your own. You've taken the journey, and that's what it really takes to walk someone else through their journey when they're in that place. And there's so many different how women find themselves in the pit. And there's so many, and from that, there's so many different ways they need to fix, cure, to take the journey out. And I love hearing the story that you share. And there's so many women who do have that relationship with food, who do have that relationship with their body, whether their parents um, unintentionally gave it to them, or society unintentionally gave it to them, or their peers, or just themselves. I mean, there's so many ways that we get these kind of views of ourselves. So I love hearing the way that you approach it. And I'm so glad that you came on today to share this journey, because I know there's someone sitting in their car listening to this, or sitting at their kitchen table saying, I feel heard. I feel like I'm not the only person who's been in this place. And so we will drop all of your content, your socials, all your connections in the show note, so that folks, if they are driving, they're not trying to write it down, and they can connect with you and kind of feel things out more, to see if you might be a good fit to be a coach for them. But I do appreciate you coming on, your vulnerability, your bravery, to share that you made the hard choice of leaving education, which I think as a woman is something that we is really looked highly upon. Oh, you're a teacher. Oh, you're a saint. That's what we should do as women. We should be teachers. And so to have the bravery to that, and to come into something kind of, you're a trainer? Who's a trainer? Like, I mean, to do something like that.
Yeah.
So I just really appreciate you sharing that story with us today.
Thank you, Gillian. It's been great being here. And, if this podcast episode today helps one person, then I've done my job. I really hope it does give people a sense of hope that change and transformation is genuinely possible.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for coming on today.
Thank you, Gillian. Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.